Fuck, I need to start uploading these to the second channel again. Something I've been bad at lately. Alright. Setting things up still. Here's a question I got for people. Alright, I know I'm in a privileged position now because I work full time on YouTube. Basically, you know how like in most, I don't know if it's the same all around the world because I don't know where you guys are all watching from, but you know obviously they turn the clocks back in a lot of countries, so basically it gets dark at like 4:45. Does anyone else just go into like full on like hibernation mode? So obviously like when I used to work full time like last year, you'd wake up and mostly the whole time you were going to work it was pitch black and it was so fucking dark, like, and then you left work at 5 or 5:30 in my case and it would be dark. So recently because obviously like you guys will know like I'm streaming, it's nearly 2 a.m. here. Like my sleeping schedule is not, I wouldn't say it's fucked. It's purpose that I'm doing it on American time just to like be in like the American conversation on social media and stuff like that. And also upload on American time. But like with the extra hour gone and so it's like it's just so dark all the time and I just want to sleep all the time and I find it really hard to just like not sleep. Like I'm so tired all the time, but I think it's like some like primal thing. It's just like hibernation or some shit. I don't know. Massin, I totally agree. It's depressing as hell. Berry King. Hey man, just found you recently and really like your stuff. Keep up the good work. Thanks so much, Berry King. I appreciate you saying that. And stopping by in the chat to be so nice. Thanks a lot. Okay, what is Red the movie thing? Taylor Swift is overrated. Taylor Swift only works when she collabs with Bon Iver. Patrick, what imperialists are you like? Because your name looks like Eastern European, the spelling. But don't know about what independence you're talking about. No Taylor Swift slander. I mean, she's okay. I love the winter when I lived in the UK, but I'm a night person, so it worked for me. Yeah, Jesse, it's like I like the night, and I don't like the night because of the contrast between the headlights on cars and like the dark, which I really fucking hate. I generally like autumn a lot because it's my birthday next week. It's my girlfriend's birthday like a couple of days later, and then it's Christmas, and then I like that whole period a lot. And then also like I had a nice Halloween and a nice 5th of November. So 5th of November in the UK, if you guys watch V for Vendetta, you probably heard like remember the 5th of November. Basically, going back to those 1605, you have like it meant to be like a bonfire and you light Guy Fawkes on fire like an effigy of him. But pretty much what it is now is just fireworks. Like we don't really talk about the Guy Fawkes part really. It's just called bonfire night. But I actually had a nice one of them because it was on a Friday, and my dad bought some like insane fireworks, like some of the best fireworks I've ever seen. Probably cost loads of fucking money. But then even on Halloween I had a nice time, and I don't normally do anything for Halloween, so guess Czechoslovakia, so Czech Republic, Patrick. Although I'm not sure, because yeah, Czech Republic sounds right. So Austria-Hungary, Bohemia and Slovakia are part of it. Russia, obviously, Soviet Union, and then Germany, Nazi Germany, I'm guessing. but it could be another similar country in Central Europe anyway. Am I a tanky? I mean, no. If you mean I like styling or something. Zendaya is overrated. I mean, I'm glad like I don't know. It's cool to see someone who's actually become a good actor from like the Disney Channel shit, because most of them don't go on to anything special. Like look at Bella Thorne, like what she done, and they're in the same show. My sister used to love their show. Did you read the shoe on head tweet on Carl Rittenhouse? Yeah. Yeah, I did. Hey Spooky Kitty. World War One shouldn't have happened, nor World War Two. World War One for sure shouldn't have happened. But maybe it was inevitable, but like because of the stupid imperialism. Cowboy, I'm a little sus about your profile since you have a Stone Toss comic as your image. Poland. Oh, okay. Patrick, hasn't Poland, someone tweeted today, has it banned like communist symbols or something? Zendaya was good in Dune. She's fine in like what I've seen her in, like Spider-Man and everything. Kavernacle is a tanky, as in built like a tank. That's a better definition. Well, one was just for clout. Oh, also, I was wondering, like, do Americans know anything about World War One? Like, I know it's called the Forgotten War in America, but do Americans actually learn about World War One? Because World War One is like such a big part of the UK, like just like society in general, not even just history. Yeah, it sounds like a slippery slope, Patrick, but fair enough. Although Poland is going to absolute shit at the moment. Like, I think the UK will be like Poland in like 20 years. We talk about World War Two and that's it. Yeah, big in Anzac nations. Yeah, Ethan, well, you probably had Poppy Day in Canada or like Remembrance Day. Parker, thanks so much for the super chat, $5. What do you think about the budget reconciliation bill being compromised to 1.7 trillion? Oh, what the hell is happening? Oh shit! I put like something on my mouse, and I was like, "What the fuck is happening?" Here, 1 second. Get that. Sorry, 1 second. I'm just messing. What do you think about the budget reconciliation bill being compromised? Yeah, like, did anyone watch like Cenk Uyghur's interview with Ro Khanna, where he just like basically like eviscerating progressives, which is pretty satisfying. But yeah, like it's a joke, isn't it? Really, like, it wasn't meant to be 3.5 trillion. Like Biden is just, sorry, I'm gonna turn this down a bit. Biden's just been like so shit as a president, but like obviously the Democrats are just unbelievable. Like, I can totally buy the conspiracy that like people want them to lose. No, Democrats are like controlled opposition to lose, essentially. It's actually it's probably because of American geography, but I always find it amazing how ignorant Americans are. Not by like any fault of their own, but just like, I think sometimes when you come from a certain environment, so like if you come from Europe, obviously World War One and World War Two are so like, especially World War One as well, like a massive part of our history here, and you can't escape it. I'm gonna get into my little tweet thread here, but you can't escape it. So my tweet here. So basically in the summer, I drove basically through the whole of the UK, like basically from the bottom to the top, and I drove through like so many rural parts of the UK. Like literally the most rural parts of Scotland, like literally the end of Scotland. I went all the way up to the top, And this is something that I said to my girlfriend. We're driving through like Yorkshire, we're driving over the border, and I said I drove from London to Scotland and around the Highlands this summer. There were war memorials in every obscure rural village. 800k British people died, millions more permanently injured, touched every part of the country. War was a disgrace. And it's just like, even where I live, I'm thinking about it now, there's a war memorial in my town. Like, we have loads of towns all a part of like London, like I say. War memorial in my town, a war memorial in the town I used to live, a war memorial in the town where I went to primary school, a war memorial in where my girlfriend lives, just like all to World War One. I mean, and then they've put World War Two stuff on it, but when you look at the list, most of it is World War One, because the casualties were double in World War One, and it's just like crazy. Like, and what would happen if you guys have watched the show Peaky Blinders in World War One? To get you to sign up, they'd let you join with your mates, so you'd make regiments up of like local areas. So what would happen is, instead of like, you know, you all joining the army and being put in like different regiments, like trained in different parts of the country, you'd just be put in the same one as your friends. So what would often happen is nearly the whole adult male population of a town would just be wiped out in the war. So, and it had just like, can you just even imagine? I don't know what the population of Britain back then was. Let me have a look quick. I think it was maybe like 30 million. UK population, 1914. So UK population was 46 million, apparently, in 1914. So 800k, essentially, healthy men, who obviously used to make the bulk of the workforce, dead, and then millions more permanently traumatized or injured from the war. And it's just like, in the US, I think it was something like 115,000 or something. But obviously, they only fought in one war. And actually, a funny part is like, Harry Truman literally sent his troops into battle until the last minute of the war. Piece of shit. So then there's that little thing about him. He's the president, or the man who shot the both last bullets of both world wars, or something. That's what they call about him. But yeah, like I always find it pretty bizarre, just like Americans don't know. And the weirdest thing for me is Americans don't know anything about Ireland, which is always bizarre to me, because so many Americans are Irish. Like, loads of Americans don't know about Northern Ireland, but GOP politicians literally funded the IRA. The first Republic of Ireland president was half American. And it's like, there's such a strong connection between these countries, and Americans don't know anything about it, despite claiming to be from there and having the biggest St. Patrick celebrations in the world. I bet most Americans couldn't even tell you who St. Patrick was. Someone saying there's also Spanish flu at the time. Yep, definitely. I'm Irish and know nothing about Ireland. You're a disgrace, Mary. Even Ethan knows. Look, Ethan knows about the blacks and tans, and Ethan's Canadian. We think Ireland is just part of the UK. Yeah, that's so crazy. There's one part of Ireland that is, but there was literally like a fucking war over it for like 30 fucking years. Like, that only ended in 1997. St. Patrick was the snake guy, right? I mean, you're onto something there, but the snake guy, I mean, if you could elaborate a bit. Hey, Red Daredevil, what's going on? My thoughts on Churchill, imperialist piece of shit, and also, like, even people, like, trying to redeem him during this day. The only reason Churchill didn't like Hitler wasn't because he was an anti-fascist, it's because Hitler was German, and Churchill was a massive fucking British imperialist and supremacist. Just like World War One, World War Two was about empire. And the nice benefit was that at least the empire that was defeated was obviously the worst one, I mean, in terms of their ideology, and their body count as well, like, in a short space of time. But World War One was about empire as well. Someone saying, did I say the British caused World War One? I didn't say the British caused World War One. World War One was an imperialist war, though. Britain didn't go to war in World War One to defend Belgium, because most British MPs didn't give a shit about Belgium. Because if you don't know, Britain helped establish Belgium independence in, I think, like 1839. And part of Belgian independence was Britain said they'd protect them if they didn't get invaded. And when Prussia and France were fighting in 1871, Britain were like, you guys go at it. We won't take a side, but stay out of Belgium, and that's fine. So that's how Prussia defeated France. Germany becomes unified. It becomes Germany for the first time after that war. But Britain got involved basically because Germany was a rising power, but there was no colonies left for it. They took some in Africa in the 1880s. They helped the Boers in the Boer War, the Boer War in the 1880s and the late 1880s to 1901. But there wasn't a lot left for Germany, just a few colonies around Asia and Africa. So they thought, they could make their empire like ruled by Germanic people in Europe. So they would take France, or they had their eyes on France, had their eyes on like parts of Russia and stuff. Because people remember at this time, most of the countries you think of today in Central Europe weren't countries. They were like parts of Germany, or they were parts of Austria-Hungary. Like Czechoslovakia wasn't a country until after World War One, for one part. And then like parts of Poland, there were still massive wars. Poland wasn't really a country. Even after World War One, what Poland is today isn't what Poland was then, because there's still massive fights between the Russians and the Germans over what part is theirs, and the Polish would fight other groups as well over territory. So it's all like a scramble for territory. But yeah, basically in World War One, Britain were like, we can't have Germany becoming the new world power, basically, because the German military was pretty much the best military. People get it a bit wrong in that they say that like the German military in World War II was the best military. The German military in World War II is severely overrated by Verabus, but the German military in World War One was one of the best. Like, for sure. Like, there's no question. On the thing is, in a land war, the German military was superior. It's only that Britain were better in naval stuff. Way better. But even the German Navy was pretty good in World War One as well, because they had the arms race over the dreadnought boats. But the British army, like compared to the Germans, wasn't as good. But it's just like a massive coalition of, I think it was like 1 million French died, like a crazy amount of French died. Yeah, the German military in World War II, yeah, they were taking meth and benzos and shit. I wrote an article about it when I used to be a pharma journalist. But yeah, it's just like Lenin has a really good quote on World War One, which I'm going to try and find for you guys. Like, I agree with it so much. But he wrote it during the war. Fuck, I'm roasting. Alright, let's have a look. Here's loads of them. It's a 1917 book though. I'm trying to find it. Is it Lenin Imperialism? I don't know. Basically, he's saying it's just a scramble for wealth. But I'm trying to think of what the book's called. So I'm trying to find it. Lenin's view on World War One. Okay. I haven't read this one, but just from looking at it, it looks like something I'd agree with anyway. So we'll have a little read. Okay, is it this one? Alright, this will just generally get the sentiment across, I guess, and I'll try and find that other one in a bit. So the German bourgeoisie heads one group of belligerent nations. It's deluding the working class and the labouring masses by asserting that it is waging war in the defence of the fatherland, freedom and civilization, for the liberation of peoples oppressed by Tsardom, for the destruction of reactionary Tsardom. In reality, whatever the outcome of the war may be, the bourgeoisie will, together with the Junkers, accept every effort to supply the Tsarist monarchy against the revolution in Russia. The other group of belligerent nations is headed by Britain and France and the French bourgeoisie, which is deluding the working class and labouring masses by asserting that waging a war for defence of their native lands, freedom and civilization against the militarism and despotism of Germany. But as a matter of fact, this bourgeoisie has long been using its billions to hire the armies of the Russian Tsardom, the most reactionary barbarous monarchy in Europe, and to prepare them for an attack on Germany. In reality, the object of the struggle of the British and French bourgeoisie is to seize the German colonies, and to ruin a competing nation which has displayed a more rapid rate of economic growth, And in pursuit of this noble aim, the advanced democratic nations are helping the savage Tsarist regime to strangle Poland, Ukraine, and so on, and to throttle revolution in Russia thoroughly. For us, the Russian Social Democrats, there can be no doubt that from the standpoint of the working class and the labouring masses of all nations of Russia, the lesser evil would be the defeat of the Tsarist monarchy, the most reactionary barbarous governments, which is oppressing the greatest number of nations and largest mass of the population of Europe and Asia. So, so basically, he is kind of using it for his agenda a bit to say, like, the Tsar is the worst, which, I mean, it depends what point of view you're looking at it from. He's saying from, like, a landmass point of view, the Tsar is the worst. I mean, it depends, really. I'd still say the British Empire was worse than the Russian Empire, but, like, all colonialists, so I'm not going to tell Lenin he's wrong there. Smith Black saying, does Nazis in Britain or Europe believe in white unity because for some reason American Nazis believe in it despite of all European history? Basically, Nazis in like Western Europe believe in Anglo-Saxon unity. Sometimes some of them also believe in like white unity, but like with many Nazis don't believe Slavs are white. So the Anglo-Saxons, so based on the old like I guess genetic makeup of Northern Europe and the UK, the Angles and the Saxons and like the Jutes and stuff like that. That's what they believe are like the superior. Basically, the whites are like untainted, where Slavs are tainted by like Muslims and Asians and stuff. Whereas the Anglo-Saxons and the Scandinavians aren't tainted. They're like pure and stuff. So that's what they believe. Who is Poppy? Are you guys asking me? Poppy. It's the flower. The red flower. Canadians were the only people the Germans were afraid of. We were pretty brutal to them. That's interesting, Ethan. I know the British treated them fairly well. I don't think the French treated them that good. But obviously Russians and Germans really don't get on. German stormtroops. I mean, they had the best equipment, Ethan, as well. They had the MP-18 as well. Like is a pretty like revolutionary gun. Like one of the better early submachine guns for sure. You can see its influence as well. It looks like a Sten gun. Kind of looks like a PPSH as well. Yeah, the concentration camps in the Boer War. Yeah, they're one of the first ones for sure. Yeah, poppy flower, they grew all over Flanders Fields. Basically, for those of you who don't know, in the Commonwealth countries, so Australia, New Zealand, Britain, and Canada, we wear a poppy on November 11th to remember the First World War, because the poppies grew in Flanders Fields in Belgium. Part of the First World War was fought there. So it just became a symbol, basically. And originally, to get to my point, originally the poppy meant that you're remembering World War One and you're saying never again, or you're remembering World War Two and you're saying never again. But basically, what the poppy now means in the UK is glorifying the armed forces and remembering every soldier who died in every war in modern history, basically. So there's a thing called like poppy nationalism. So think about it like the Pledge of Allegiance or like standing for the national anthem at a sports game. It's like this ridiculous purity test shit with no nuance about it. It's like people get really funny if you don't wear a poppy. So there are Irish football players or soccer players to Americans who won't wear the poppy and they'll get loads of abuse for it. And they won't wear the poppy because a lot of them grew up in Northern Ireland during the Troubles and stuff. Serbian players also don't wear it because of the bombings on Serbia in the 90s, which they lived through. So they're like, fuck this, I'm not wearing a poppy, which is fair enough. I've never worn one, and I'm never going to wear one because I have my great granddad fought in World War One. Got his face shot off, but he survived. Obviously, otherwise I wouldn't be here myself. And then my great uncle. Irish families are weird, where I think my great uncle. Yeah, my great aunt is still alive. It was her uncle, I believe. Yeah, he died at Dunkirk in World War Two, but then like other members of my family were killed by the British in like the Irish Revolution and stuff. So fuck wearing something that glorifies that type of shit. And then also there's just like the glorification of soldiers who fought in Afghan, Iraq, Northern Ireland, Malaya, Egypt, Greece. Like, I'm not celebrating colonialism. Trump went to Poland and said something like, we have to protect Western culture. Poland isn't the West, so we know what he meant. I mean, like, some people might see Poland as the West, but for sure that fashy thing he said, Sam Harris fucking loved it. And I was like, Sam Harris used it as, like, protecting the West from, like, illiberal values of, like, the East or, like, Islam. And then Poland outlaws abortion and makes it illegal to criticise Poland for the Holocaust, which seems very liberal. I'm going to set my jumper off quick. It's November and it's so hot. I can't get over it. So poppies are also grown in Afghanistan. They make opium from them and heroin. British history is not boring. British history is really interesting. It's really old as well, which is cool. Yeah, Matt, that's a good point, actually. It does apply to China as well. Alex, I completed the new Call of Duty. I was talking about it on Tuesday. I think it did a good job of being both like fuck Nazism, but also show some like interesting wrinkles. Like, this will go over most people's heads. I predict, because it's just like your average Call of Duty player. But like, the Nazi character interrogating you in the game talks about like American racism, saying that like black Americans can take pain better. And he says there's like a wonderful book by this guy, and he says this, so I want to prove his theory while he's interrogating the black British guy. So I might make my video on that tomorrow, but I'm riding a bit of like a growth wave at the moment. So while I might move that video to next week and try and think of something more like popular, I guess, because I want to try and get hit. I want to hit 50k by the end of the month, and I'm on like a nice streak at the moment. So maybe my George Carlin video, but I'll have to see. What happened in Northern Ireland? I mean, Mermaid Man, how much do you know about Northern Ireland? Yeah, Natalie, you'd be dragged. If you were an MP in the UK and you didn't wear poppy, you'd be, like, hounded by the press. And everyone would get pissy at you. I mean, because it's in the orbit of, like, Eastern Europe, I guess. I mean, yeah, I'd consider Poland a part of, like, the imagined West, but, like, I guess the imagined West kind of has, like, these idealized liberal principles that Poland doesn't seem to have at the moment, so... The Thompson came too late for World War One. Yeah, the Tommy gun's in Battlefield 1, like a really early version. It's quite cool, actually. So I'm just reading comments. Cav, if you're in the UK, why am I streaming at 2 a.m? Why do people always ask me this? Because YouTube's my full-time job, and that's why. Talk about Big Bird and bam, 100k subs. I think I'm a bit late to that now. I was thinking about it. I mean, I'm trying to, like, I've got a good idea for 2 videos tomorrow. I just need to choose which one. Yeah, that's the current discourse. I mean, I did a good video on Sesame Street like a year and like 8 months ago about it always being socially progressive. I guess I could do that, but like it's kind of like not last week, but it's early week news and stuff. Yeah, I'm reading the YouTube chat. Um, Mermaid Man, where are you from then? You're wait, you don't know about the Troubles? How old are you? Like, it's probably not your fault, but like Americans, like older Americans, not knowing about the Troubles is the most bizarre shit to me. Because Bill Clinton was literally so instrumental in like ending the conflict in Northern Ireland with like Tony Blair and like obviously the Irish Republicans and stuff. And it's like, how can this be like a big and Joe Biden is like big on it as well. Like Joe Biden played a big role in it, and it's like how do Americans not know this? It only happened like 23 years ago. Like, if you're 50 years old, how do you not know this? The year of never-ending summer. Yeah, it's very, very hot, JJ. Also, I loved your meme, by the way. So fucking funny. I was actually going to post it on Twitter and credit you, because I follow you on Twitter. But then I thought, would people get funny about, like, the violence implied in the image? So I'm just assessing that quick. I don't understand how dying in war is disgraceful. I can't wrap my head around it. Blue, I don't know how much you know about the history of the UK, but back then, nearly all the generals and officers were upper class. All the conscript soldiers were working class. Same with Germany. And basically, even the soldiers said, like, we didn't even know why we were fighting each other. And they really got on well. But it's basically elite people sending British people to go die in their like hundreds of thousands, poor British working class men, conscripts, to fight Germany to stop them becoming the big dominant superpower. And that's what Lenin was saying. That's why they did it. And it's true. It's why they did it. The Belgium stuff didn't matter. If you read speeches in Parliament in the lead up to the war, a lot of people would just say like fuck it, like don't get involved with this dispute between the Russians and the Germans and the Austrians and the Serbians and stuff. And like even if Belgium gets invaded to attack France, like let's just stay out of it. But why they did it and why people, like Churchill hated the Germans anyway in both wars was because they're a threat to British imperialism. It's not anything about protecting Europe. A lot of Belgians like the war because the British protected Belgium and stuff, but like it's not to do with that. I mean, is anyone really going to make the case to me that the German Empire was somehow less moral? They're both immoral. Less moral than the British Empire. Like the British Empire, who put loads of colonial soldiers as well. Remember, the only colonial soldiers that really fought for Germany was like a handful of Africans, where the British sent Egyptians, Indians. 70,000 Indians died fighting for the British Empire in Europe. Indians fighting in Europe for the British. That's what this kind of war is. Think of like the Australians at Gallipoli. Like Australians are a complicated one. Like Australia is obviously like a settler colony, but like the history is more complex than somewhere like Canada, which is just like straight up settler colonialism, because the Australians are literally like convicts and shit. Like the British have sent like convicts and awful people to Australia. So like it's a bit different, like the dynamics between the British and the Australians. But yeah, basically like the British, and then after the war, of course, the British Empire had never been bigger. It picks up the Middle East for itself, and it picks up more German colonies and picks up more parts of Asia. Like despite the massive loss of manpower, World War One's very nice to the UK. It becomes literally the biggest it's ever been. Like Iraq becomes its colony, British Mandate of Palestine, other like influence in the Middle East as well. The French take Syria, of course, as well. Like it's a great war for the European colonialist elite at the end. Alex, thanks so much for the donation, man. Have you ever considered rebranding to the Sigma Senpai or the Cancellation Caucasian? I mean, Alex, in an alternate universe where I don't like my name so much, I definitely considered all of them. Yeah, let me just like rebrand my channel, and it's just like fully about cancelling everyone. But I appreciate the donation, man. Really nice of you. Those are great names, though. If you ever make a channel similar to mine, make sure you name it one of them. Considering, okay, if you are white, I mean, you can call yourself Caucasian. I can't say Caucasian anyway. Damn, that's pretty based. Meow. Yeah, lots of Quebecies. Was that how you say Quebecies or Quebecers? I don't know. Refused to fight for Britain and were ostracized because of that. Awesome. I'm glad they fucking did that. Sorry, I'm just going to take some more comments because I've what did you eat today, Kavernacle? Bowl of porridge, and then I had some chicken with some potatoes for dinner. Probably have some more porridge later or something. Buzzyear, funny you say that. I think Tiffany Ferguson or Tiffany Ferg, whatever her name is, I think she literally... No, not her. Someone else made a video on that. I saw it. It wasn't her. It was someone else made a cottagecore video. Yeah, Ray Gunner Gaming. I've already done that. Just type in Kavernacle Star Wars. I've made multiple videos on the fandom and stuff. All they teach in Canada is Canadian history. Oh, okay. 1920 in 4 days. I mean that. I guess my sister is the same age as you. I mean, where do I even start with Northern Ireland? Basically, all you need to know in Northern Ireland is, in a really short way, Ireland used to be part of the UK from 1800, the Act of Union, and basically, Ireland was a British colony, and then it became part of the UK, and it had its own parliament as well. The parliament was eventually dissolved, and Irish MPs would sit in the House of Commons, but there was always people advocating for Irish Home Rule. Home Rule basically means you are part of the British Empire, but you govern yourself. That's what Canada and Australia had before they had independence. But in terms of Ireland, there was massive agitation from the mid-1800s to the early 1900s, where they're fighting off the British. In 1916, one of my relatives was one of the leaders. There was something called the Easter Rising, where the Irish Republicans, the IRA, rose up against the British and its Irish forces and took over Dublin for like a couple of days. British put it down. The leaders were mostly executed, apart from one of them who'd become one of the Irish presidents, De Valera, and he only because he was American as well. So they didn't want. So he was exiled basically to America. And then that just started the War of Independence against the British, which was happening during World War One. The Irish eventually won, I think in 1919. But what the British granted them was not total independence. I think the Queen was the head of state, but they had to accept, as part of the treaty, that Ulster and the surrounding counties would remain part of the UK. Now, Ulster is where Belfast is. Oh, not Ulster, like Northern Ireland is Ulster and the surrounding counties. Ulster's just part of Northern Ireland, not all of it. Belfast is in Northern Ireland, it's the capital. It's also one of the most developed areas of Northern Ireland. The economy and the rest of it was mainly rural, apart from Dublin. But Northern Ireland has like special significance for Irish. It's where St. Patrick was the Bishop of Armagh, which was part of Northern Ireland. So basically, then there was the Irish Civil War, where they fought over if they should agree to this or not, because the hardcore people were like, we can't stop until the whole of Ireland is free, while there's more people saying, well, we should compromise and we should do this. So Irish Civil War, eventually, I think it was in 1948, it got total independence from the UK, although it was pretty much independent anyway. It's just like a sort of ceremonial thing in the end. But then in the 1940s, just after World War II, the IRA started going into Northern Ireland, and then it really ramped up in the 1960s, where from the 1960s to 1997, something called the Troubles, where the IRA would come from the south and they would attack the British soldiers. There'd also be IRA in the north anyway, because there were Catholics as a minority in the north. So they would fight the British soldiers. This went on for about 30 years. Really, really brutal. The Protestants had their own terrorist groups as well, in bed with MI6 and the British. So it was a war basically for 30 years. And then basically in the 90s, there were big peace talks. Jeremy Corbyn helped. Bill Clinton helped. Tony Blair helped. Bill Clinton was a big part of it. And then there's something called the Good Friday Agreement, which Northern Ireland would stay part of the UK, but it recognises the will of the Irish people to become one country. And now in the Northern Irish Parliament, the Republican Party and the main Ulster Party are basically level, and it's expected in the next 20 years, 30 years, that if there's a referendum on Irish unification, then the Republicans will win it and Northern Ireland will become part of Ireland. But this was actually kind of expected this would happen one day. So that's basically the short summary of Northern Ireland. So Northern Ireland, in essence, is a settler colony. Most of the people there, the main migrants to Northern Ireland weren't actually the English. It was Protestant Scottish people. That's why a lot of the time you might mistake a Northern Irish accent for a Scottish. I know when I was a kid, I thought they sounded quite similar. They do sound kind of similar in some parts. And basically, there's loads of sectarianism in Glasgow as well, in Scotland, between the Catholics and the Unionists. So it's very linked to that part of the UK. But yeah, it's a settler colony. Ireland was always like Catholic Christian. It wasn't Protestant. It wasn't Church of England. Even when Henry VIII started like these colonies in Ireland and stuff. So the people there are from Scotland. They're a different religion. And it's obviously like occupied territory by the British government at the moment. Has the British Army stationed there, and yeah. But it's a really complicated situation. But Catholics are slowly becoming the majority. Catholics are mainly Republican. It's pretty synonymous with Republican identity. Catholicism isn't really as big as a religious force in Ireland anymore. It's more about like a sectarian thing. It's like, if you're Catholic, you're basically an Irish Republican, or you're an Irish native, where Protestants linked to being an outsider, being a unionist, having your heritage linked back to England or Scotland, basically. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed my little short history of Ireland. And yeah, a lot of family who are in the IRA, also some family who are in the British Army as well, in World War One. Yeah, bend the knee, that's funny. Conservatives loving doom, but bashing the Eternals for being political. Yeah, that's fucking strange as hell, man. Like, I did want to make a video. The only reason I'm not making a video on Dune is I know someone's going to come in the comments and start spoiling the rest of the book for me. And I want to watch the movies without knowing stuff. So I know if I make that video, even though it will be popular, people will just fucking take it upon themselves to spoil the ending. Sorry, I'm going to read some more of your comments now. As a 23-year-old American, we never learn about it. That's pretty bizarre, to be honest. Mandy, because your great granddad was a working class officer doesn't mean the majority of the officers weren't upper class. They still are upper class today, the majority of them. Sorry, I'm just reading some more comments. Where did I start? Oh, I'm on Top Chat. I'm sorry. I might have missed a couple of your... I've been on Top Chat the whole time. Top Chat is just the best instead of everything. So... Oh, shit. Alright, I'm just going on live chat. Sorry, guys. I've missed a couple of your comments now. Yeah, Natalie, that's something Egyptians had to do as well. So Natalie's saying, my Kenyan great-grandfather was forced to be part of the carrier corps during World War One, forced to help them while they were brutalising his countrymen. Yeah, the stuff in Kenya is just never talked about in the UK. It's so fucking brutal. This is like after World War Two as well. I'm not white. My channel is coming. Going to be doing leftist content from a Latino perspective, likely. Oh, awesome. What Latino country are you from, or is your background? I might be your youngest viewer. I'm in ninth grade. Hopefully, you're not the ninth grader who wrote that pro Jordan Peterson essay. But awesome. So that means you're 15, I believe. To be fair, I started watching the Young Turks when I was 15, so it's never too early. I think you should make videos about moments in history. I think you make it very interesting. Yeah, Mermaid. I would like to be a history YouTuber. It just doesn't pay the bills. And to be honest, I've built my whole thing on politics now. I can't just change. Can't speak for any other American, but barely remember being taught. Yeah, it's called the Forgotten War in America, because no one talks about it. Devil era Sigma grind set. The Irish seem to have Spanish sounding names. I mean, there's the myth that the Spanish Armada crashed in Ireland and settled in Ireland, but I don't know how much that is true because from what I read, some Spanish who crashed in Northern Ireland were killed, and despite them both being Catholics, there is a lot of animosity. Like I remember reading stuff about Irish mercenaries fighting for Spain, and they were treated like shit as well. So I'm not sure how close the links are between them. Arlo, I haven't got my Game Pass yet. I got a trial for a month. I'm waiting for Halo to come out. I also need to buy an external hard drive so I can play it on my computer. The Batman guy, Irish person here. It's always weird to me seeing Irish people on British TV wearing poppies. I get it's to avoid mass backlash, but it's strange seeing us advocate for the British Army. Yeah, Batman guy, I guess I could justify it by saying it's just about World War One and World War Two, but honestly, fuck that. There's so much peer pressure to wear them in this country. But honestly, like, I like the Serbians, even though obviously like Serbia is really problematic as a country, and obviously their role in the war that Britain attacked them for is fucking shit. But the Serbians are basically like, go fuck yourself, I'm not wearing one, which is funny. Yeah, the Bible, so Harker's saying, the Bible's interesting as like a historical document for some things, but it's also just makes up a bunch of shit, like Moses is completely made up and stuff. Yeah, Victor, apparently the graphics are really bad on the GTA remaster, not just on the Switch, but even on the PS5. Apparently it looks like shit. The IRA assassinated the Queen's cousin. Well, yeah, it wasn't just the Queen's cousin. Lord Mountbatten was literally the commander of Allied forces in the Pacific, and he was also the last viceroy of India as well. And he's also, basically, the Queen's husband's stepdad. I had no clue any of this happened. I'm guessing talking about the Ireland stuff. I'm literally Scottish and Irish. Mermaid man, that's weird. But I guess like how much are you Scottish and Irish? And like, are you like one of those Americans who is, but like your ancestry is the 1800s or something? I can't tell the difference between the accents. Scottish and Northern Irish do sound different, but there are some similarities. The UK's relationship with Christianity is really fascinating to you. In what regard? It is interesting though, just like obviously like King Alfred and then Henry VIII and stuff. Enjoyed the condensed lesson. Oh fuck, what is this? Oh no, it's a new spam bot. We want, hey, here girls want everyone, even you. Even you, like, you're not, like, we're preying on the losers. They'll even like you. Okay, how do you say Praga-you? People were saying I was saying it wrong. Is it Praga-you? Or is it Praga-you? Politics and history goes hand in hand. Well, yeah, my series on booze, like Vera booze and Via Bores and shit like that, Those are very much history videos, but like I have to be smarter about it rather than just making something. Guatemalan Mexican. Oh, interesting, Alex. I'm sure that make for a good, especially Guatemala, but obviously Mexico and the US have quite a tumultuous relationship. Yeah, Mr. Blood T. People already told me that about Dune, but thanks for saying it as well. Sorry, I'm just reading some more comments. The GTA, the old GTA radios are fucking amazing though. Like just the talk radios or they're so good, and for being like 20 years old, some of them like amazing quality. Vice City, I really want to play again. Oh, we're talking about Dune. Yeah, I don't want people to spoil the movie for me. So, Obama does have Irish heritage. So does Che Guevara as well. Yeah, I do a mix of politics and history a lot of the time. You'd be a really good teacher or professor. You're a good speaker. Thanks, Claire. That's nice of you to say. My mum actually wants me to be a teacher, and I always get mad at that because I'm like, okay, like, I'm not saying I wouldn't be a good teacher, but it's like I'm doing something I really like doing. I have people listening to my opinions, and I can like educate them on stuff. In a job, like jobs, you choose my job, way more relaxing. I don't have to deal with people. I don't have to grind at a school, which is really shit as well. Like that's the worst thing about being a teacher. Like if I went back to the school I went to, and they were like, "Here's a job," not that I would do it anyway, but it's like that's a lot easier than being like, go to this school in a really bad part of London and try and like teach some subject to children. I'd be a good history teacher, like no doubt I would be, but like it's just something I don't want to do, to be honest. Didn't some Irish fight in the Mexican Revolution? I know Cubans fought in the Spanish Revolution. What's your opinion on BJB? I've done a whole video on that, Mikazuki. If you want to watch some, just type in Kavernacle India. Basically, like BJP are massive simps for Israel because of the Palestinian stuff. But yeah, it's like fascism within a democracy. Obviously, the person who killed Gandhi was part of the fucking RSS, which is their paramilitary. So yeah, it's disturbing. Obviously, Modi is just an awful person. He was even banned from going to the US like 15 years ago. Yeah, DT, I agree. Colonial army contributions are heavily underlooked and unknown. Yep, they are, for sure. Blue saying, as an American, my understanding of World War One is that royalty is bad and everyone in Europe was related through incest, so they went to war. Yeah, that's not it at all, basically, Blue Barrymore. Honestly, World War One is really fascinating and it's really important. Like, I'd say if you ever want to study a period to show how our modern world has been formed, it's World War One, because you have the Balkan stuff with just everything going on there with Russia and Austria-Hungary. You have the first rise of a communist nation. You have the USA kind of like coming out of its shell a bit, like moving away from its imperialism in just like Asia and America, and now coming to like the world and being like, you know, we are like a global power now, which is an interesting point as well. Also, like the massive war, the war gave a massive boom because just like in World War Two, they're a nation who fought in it, but they weren't affected by it because they were never attacked properly. Same with World War Two. But there's so many interesting things like Israel. The whole Israel thing is basically literally linked to World War One. I know that there is some Zionist stuff before, but like the British mandate for Palestine and the Jewish like partisans and what they call insurgents against the British in that period. You have the whole stuff with Syria and Assad, like the French divide and rule stuff. You have lots of stuff with Indian independence movements as well. Yeah, like World War One, like the decline of the Ottoman Empire, like the end of the Ottoman Empire, essentially, the rise of Turkey, and then obviously the Greek-Turkey stuff is like, obviously goes back to the Ottoman Empire owning Greece, but then Greece getting independence in 1821, but then what people don't realise is that Turkey forming as a nation also happened while they fought a huge, like, brutal war with Greece, because Greece invaded the territories of Turkey because they wanted to recapture Constantinople, because Greek nationalists not only think that, like, a lot of the old Greek Empire like the old Greek colonies of like Alexandria and Cyprus, like belong to them. They also believe in like the Byzantium stuff as well, like the Eastern Orthodox Church. They believe Constantinople. So it's basically a weird mix of ancient nationalism and like medieval nationalism where they believe they own it all. So they went to war with Turkey for that. And if you read about that conflict, I know it's famous for like continuing the Armenian genocide and like the Turks' ethnic cleansing, but the Greek ethnic cleansing is something I'd never even heard about before. It's fucking brutal. They would literally just kill whole villages of Muslims, like not even Turks, just like random like Muslim populations, in front of like British journalists and stuff. Like they didn't give a fuck. It's actually such a crazy period. But the Turks eventually, and why I love it so much is the geopolitics is so interesting. Is that the Soviet Union, but then also the French armed the Turks, and then the British and Americans armed the Greeks, and it's like you've just fought a war together where the French are on the British and American side, and now in this other war, the French, because of their own territories in the Middle East, want to protect them, are arming the Turks along with the Soviets. It's just like very, very interesting period of history. So I'd say if you don't know anything about World War One, like if you learn about like the 1880s, which is like the origins, even going back, I'd say 1871 is like the start of the origins of World War One. Maybe even 1865 with the Italy's independence and stuff. But very interesting period, really important period as well. So I'd recommend if none of you know anything about World War One and you think it's a massive blind spot in your history, if you ever go back and read about it, it's just so important. Like to understanding the world today, understanding sectarianism, why certain countries hate each other, even stuff with like Iraq. Like Iraq wasn't a country. Iraq was made a country after World War One, and it basically took 3 Ottoman provinces and made them one country. So you had like the Sunni area, the Shia area, and the Kurdish area, and they just tried to smash it into one country. And then for one brief period, they all united to fight the British. Like they fought like Lawrence of Arabia and like I think Churchill and stuff. And it's like this one period in Iraqi history where all these groups, maybe the only other time a couple of these groups came together was to fight the American invasion in 2003, or fight the occupation. But just so many, there's just so many interesting things you don't know about. Even like Egyptian, why Egypt is the way it is today is very linked to post World War One stuff as well. So yeah, India's got a fascist party like ruining it. Doesn't no one know this? I hate being American. Yeah, Garibaldi and Gramsci, look them up. Garibaldi, the father of Italy, and Gramsci, obviously, super famous Marxist, killed by Mussolini, essentially. So the IRA is based, I mean, here's the thing with the IRA. The original IRA fought a war in a very similar way to the IRA in Northern Ireland, but the first IRA won and then became the government and recognised as the government, right? It's about all these things. Like their tactics were terrorism. Like make no mistake, they did target civilians as well. But obviously, you know, they always say if you asked these terrorist groups like the IRA, what would they rather do? Fight like this or fight like with everything the other side had? They say, well, give me the helicopters, give me the hydrojets. We'll take them instead. So their cause was just, obviously with war, you know, I'm not going to condone all the methods and stuff, but like, what was it, like 500 years of British settler colonialism, like 300 years of Scottish settler colonialism, and they're finally rising up to like get rid of the colonialists, you know, that's something I support, to be honest. His job is mostly admin. Okay, I won't do it then. Ben, I don't know how you found this live stream, Ben. If you don't know, like I always thought my live stream just went to people who watch me. UK schools are always recruiting Canadians to be teachers. I don't even think I've ever met a Canadian, to be honest. A lot of Australians and New Zealand people used to be teachers at my school, though. I want to be a high school English teacher. Yeah, in a nice school. That doesn't sound so bad. Yeah, Kennedy, Doom was really good. I really liked it. I talked about it on Tuesday, I think. Flash FM, yeah, Flash FM and the talk show ones as well. Yeah, I tell you what one of the most underrated GTA radio stations is Liberty Rock Radio on GTA 4. Like it was hosted by Iggy Pop and it had so many bangers in it, like really good ones. Like some classics, like some Genesis and like Elton John, and then like some Stooges and stuff. It's really fucking good. Man, GTA 4 was such a good game. Apparently they're remastering it for 2023. I've seen somewhere. That's the best GTA by far. The physics were fucking hilarious. But obviously, like, the story is nice and serious. Like, Nico is like, I think he's Serbian and fought in like the 1990s war as like a child soldier. The GTA Freeze Radio has a lot of original music in it though, like made just for the game because they didn't get the licensing, I believe. Why, Cav? Why does Rockstar make boring games? I wouldn't agree with them. I like most of their games. So, I'm in college to be a teacher. Josh, I'm sure it's like being a teacher's good. Teaching, at least the unions are decent in the UK, and you get good holidays. So, Irish fought the US with Mexico. In the that's what I was thinking of. Yeah, Dune wasn't as good as Blade Runner, but it's obviously only a part one, where that's like a sequel, which is like its own story, like 30 years later. Yeah, GTA Vice City, like Ray Gunner Gaming. I'm not sure if it would hold up, but like the voice. If you love 80s movies, you'll reference like there's so many references to like Scarface and like Carlito's Way. Ray Liotta voices Tommy Vercetti, the main character. Literally, your best friend in it is Sean Penn's character from Carlito's Way, pretty much. Hatch End isn't Tahaka. Isn't that where like a famous footballer went? Yeah, Amity, I actually talked to my professor in my master's course. He was like an expert in the Middle East. And I said to him, like, would the British war against the Ottomans have happened anyway, even if World War One didn't happen? We had like a good conversation on that, because it's like Britain clearly like kept encroaching on Ottoman territory, like when they took over Egypt in the 1880s and stuff. So it's an interesting question. Like, would the British and the French fight the did the French fight the Ottomans, or would the British Empire fight the Ottoman Empire regardless of World War One? Blue Barrymore, yeah, I because I learned all this from like study and school and like uni. I mean, World War One. The thing with World War One is you need someone often. Like you don't want like an anti-communist teaching yourself, like, because the thing with a lot of history channels, they're Verabus and they're anti-communists, and they're often pro-imperialists as well. Like they're simps for like imperialist history. So I don't have any recommendations for you. Someone in the chat, do you have any good history channels on YouTube that aren't like neo-lib or like right-wing or something? Does Ireland hate Oliver Cromwell? Yeah, they fucking hate him. Only because like he like obviously fought a war against who the fuck was it again? Charles the Second, I think, in Ireland. Need a vid on Destiny. I mean, I have thought about that. I just don't know if I want the heat like of doing that. IRA versus UVS. Yeah, UVF, the fascist. Yeah, the lead up to World War One is long. It's all about like even like Greek independence in the 1820s plays into World War One, because it's all about like the Ottoman Empire is just like declining, and basically the Europeans all just looking at it like they basically use it against each other. It's like, well, we'll support you in this instance so we can stop the Russians from taking over this part. But then it's just an interesting geopolitical game. The alliances shift so much. Like Germany even asked Britain for an alliance in like 1911, like 3 years before World War One, which is an interesting thing as well. What's a BED exam, Mark? GTA 4, yeah. GTA 4 is so good. If anyone gets the chance. Nah, GTA 5's online is just so like microtransaction-y. 4 was nice and pure. The song Iggy Pop did with Kesha. I haven't heard that one before. GTA is boring. Now Saints Row is crap, little fox. Like Saints Row's mechanics feels so like hollow. Like I love the realistic shooting on GTA 4. Like the physics engine is so good. I've never liked Saints Row. It's too immature. GTA is immature, but like Saints Row just takes it to another level. Ellie made me watch part of Blade Runner and then she fell asleep on me. Kennedy, just watch it on your own. Watch both of them back to back, or get Omni to watch them with you. Ballad of Gay Tony was good, actually. Forgot about that. No one says fuck in those games. Oh, that's interesting. No, I never realised that. Dune soundtrack is amazing. Yeah, it's pretty good. I prefer the Blade Runner one, which I'm listening to right now, actually. Do Brits deserve human rights? Don't ask me that. Do I consider King in general as anti-communist? What do you mean? You mean the position? If you're talking about the positions, I mean, general's not necessarily. King, yeah, King's anti-communist for sure. Yeah, Spongy, thanks for the feedback, but I mean, at the moment, I'm probably not going to change anything. The channel's doing so well. I literally have had my best month ever. Like, last 4 weeks, my best 4 weeks I've ever had on my channel. I've got, like, nearly 500... I nearly had 5,000 new subs, 600k views, like, the most money I've ever made in a 4-week period. So, yeah, I'm not going to change anything. I have had other people say that before, but, I mean, yeah. I mean... People, I've actually, to be honest, I've asked people a lot about the length, and people said, I put it on while I do other things, I listen to it in the car, blah, blah, blah. So they say, I don't care how long you take. Some, like, if there's fat to be trimmed, I do trim it. But it just ends up being that way. Like, my Mr. Beast video, or even my Chris Pratt one, you know, I could have taken the hunting part out, but I thought it was important. And the Mr. Beast one, like, there's a lot of stuff in there. But I think it's all relevant. Like, I don't think it needs to go. Like, obviously, if you look back at my old content, I used to make, like, 15-minute videos. And to be honest, people might be cynical and be like, it's for ads. It's not for ads. Genuinely, what I do, I take a bunch of screenshots on my phone of stuff I want to read out, plan it in my head, like, go over it a couple times, make the video, and it just ends up being 30 minutes. Like, I can't help it. It's nothing, like, I'm not in my head, like, this must be 30 minutes. Like, I've done 25-minute videos. I did an 80-minute video a couple weeks ago. But, like, in my head, I'm just like, I want to get it all out. And if it takes 40 minutes, I'll do 40 minutes. I don't care. And the thing is, like I said, if my channel was doing badly, and a couple of you were saying that, then I'd be like, okay, let's make it shorter. But because my channel has done so well in the last year, by increasingly making longer videos, then, I mean, you know, at the same time, it's fair enough. But I've got timestamps in the description, just like, and also you don't have to watch it all. Like, if you watch 20 minutes and you're bored, just click off. I don't watch every video. I don't watch the full length of every video I watch. Sorry, just saw another comment I wanted to read. GTA 4 ran like crap on the PS3. Yeah, it looked like shit as well. So did the Fallout games. How are the living standards between Ireland and the North? The North is, like, generally wealthier, but it's more urban and more focused around Belfast, while the South is a lot more rural. But to be honest, the Southern economy generally is better. I wouldn't say completely better, but, like, it's in the EU still, and Dublin is, like, up and coming. Also, there's tax breaks in Ireland, which companies like Google work, because if you get paid by Google in the UK, you're being paid by Google Ireland, and it's for tax breaks reasons. So a lot of tech places prefer it. And also, it's going to become really important now because the UK isn't in the EU anymore, but Ireland is. So it's way more important for, like, the US and, like, other European countries and stuff. The TikTok train guy, I don't know who that is. I don't have TikTok, so. A vid on NFTs. Well, I did a video on Crypto Bros a couple weeks back. Yeah, GTA. When the fat cop would, like, grab your car and you just drive off. Oh, actually, the best thing that never happens anymore. Do you remember when you fly out of the front window if you crash the car in a certain way? That was so fucking funny. The physics in that game is so good. Joshua, the politicians who are furthest left in the UK are pretty more like just open socialists and stuff, like Jeremy Corbyn, a couple others like him. They're literally called the Socialist Group of MPs. There's no, like like wishy-washiness about being socialist like there is in the US. It's not like I'm a social democrat or I'm a soc dem or I'm a democratic socialist. It's like, no, we're just socialists, like straight up, and the Labour Party should be for socialism because that's why it was founded in the first place. Was it inevitable the poppies would turn to a reactionary symbol? Honestly, I don't know when it started. I don't know when it came to mean all wars and all soldiers. Probably like a war on terror thing, probably. Yeah, Kennedy, I mean, you haven't got to watch it. Everyone's got different tastes. I just fucking love the movies, so. Would we be on like World War Five by now if nukes weren't invented? That's an interesting question. To be honest, World War Two was so fucking devastating. I think there wouldn't have been an appetite for war for a long time. Yeah, Crimson, that happened to me in Fallout New Vegas. The save making the performance awful. No, I'm caught fire. I'm reading this chat. It's just not on screen. Hang on one second. I'll do it next time. I'll try and see if I get the chat on screen with people. I like the long videos. Thanks, Spitting Game. Victor, why has your year been so bad? I've never played the other Elder Scrolls games, but I love Skyrim. Well, I talk about lefties offending Rittenhouse. Yeah, I'll do it in a sec. I'll do it before I go off. Horse armor, yeah, the original bad DLC. Do I think a world without religion would be a more peaceful, better place? I mean, I think it would solve a lot of issues, but I think, say like I snapped my fingers and everyone was an atheist, but there'd still be sectarianism. Like, even though there's no religion, the Northern Irish Republic of Ireland stuff wouldn't go away. Israel, Palestine wouldn't go away. India, Pakistan wouldn't go away. I mean, there is religious elements to that, but it's kind of moved beyond that, where the religion has been tied into like the identity thing, where it's more like sectarian and ethnic and stuff. How do you think of the Labour Party's recent defeats in elections? The Labour right wing forced Corbyn to not be pro-Brexit. Corbyn was pro-Brexit, and the English working class were pro-Brexit. Most of England were pro-Brexit, and the 2019 election... So Corbyn did really well in the 2017 one, but the 2019 one was basically a referendum on Brexit, and people still wanted Brexit. Johnson campaigned for Brexit. Corbyn was wishy-washy of it, but he was forced to. He was also destroyed by the press. Like, the press all literally... Every newspaper in the country endorsed Boris Johnson, and even like the Guardian would run stories. Basically, you guys think the gaslighting about anti-Semitism and weaponized anti-Semitism is bad when it's Ilhan Omar. You should have seen it in the UK, like Jeremy Corbyn. It was like hysterical. It was literally, they were saying Jeremy Corbyn getting elected would be like Hitler getting elected. I'm not joking. People were saying shit like that, or like Stalin being elected and like purging Jewish people. They would literally say that crap, and everyone would repeat it. Lately, the far-right ambassador to the UK, the far-right Israeli ambassador, who even Israeli conservatives fucking hate, was protested at an event, and the Labour Party, right-wing, were coming out and saying that this was disgraceful. This woman who opposes what do we even call that? Like, interracial marriage. She literally opposes that, and the Labour Party defending her. The Labour Party have taken over right-wingers, and they're just like massive simps for Israel, no matter what. Like, they will not criticise Israel because they're afraid of being called anti-Semites, which has been weaponized by the press, which obviously in bed with the Tories. But the Tories are actually fucking anti-Semitic. Like, that's the funny thing in this country. We've gassed it so bad by the press. We think the anti-racists, or not obviously me, but like we think the anti-racists like Jeremy Corbyn are the racists. The guy who got arrested for protesting apartheid South Africa, he's the racist one. Boris Johnson has said so much racist things in public. He's even written a book with anti-Semitism, which like he describes like Jewish characters and stuff. Like, it's actually insane. In this country, in the US, and this is why I prefer Ireland so much. I was saying to my girlfriend, I was like, I love so much in Ireland that even fucking Irish conservatives are not fucking simps for Israel at all. Like, they're like, well, we're from Ireland, we know what settler colonialism is like. While the conservatives might be a bit more balanced, they do tend to shift, like, believe more in Palestinian solidarity. And there's the fucking Irish Conservatives. The people who rule Ireland at the moment aren't like your friends. They have this pro-capitalist. They're basically ruining fucking Ireland anyway. And that's why the Republicans in both countries are rising. But it's just refreshing when I listen to the Irish Parliament debates on Israel that you have the left wing who are extremely anti-colonialist, and it's really nice to hear. Like, you think the American progressives were scathing to Israel, you should hear some of the Irish people. But even like the Irish Conservatives like concede their points, like yeah, we agree. And I'm like, that is so fucking nice. Like, here is like a Western political system which is very close to where I live, and it's obviously like where my family are from and stuff. And they're not insane about Israel because they're not part of this fucking well, Ireland largely they benefit from the Western Empire, but they're not, part of the military side of it really, apart from maybe UN peacekeeping forces. But they're not in bed with the Israelis because they're not selling the Israelis fucking tons of weapons, and they don't benefit from their foreign policy in the Middle East. So it's very. I know you guys in America feel the same, but the good thing in America as well is that you can understand that the people who say this shit are fucking white evangelicals, so some of the most racist people, and also the most anti-Semitic people, believe that Israel needs to start Armageddon, where the Jews won't actually go to heaven. But yeah, it's just in this country. Why do both of the mainstream parties simp for this stuff so bad? If it was the other way around, if it was the Palestinian state, which was a settler colonial state, and they were doing this to Israelis, there is no way in hell that, obviously because they're a Muslim country, there's no way in hell there'd be this much simping for it. It's just so fucking frustrating. And in my mind, like, it's annoying because they're anti-Semitic themselves, these Labour people, because they conflate anti-Semitism with criticism of Israel, basically saying that any criticism of Israel is an attack on Jewish people, when many Jewish people, even some of the most religious Jewish people, Orthodox Jews, do not recognise Israel. Like, you've seen those protests in New York where the Jewish Orthodox Jews wearing like traditional Jewish dress, they're siding with the Palestinians. Like, and in this country, like, there is a protest against a far-right Israeli politician, and the people protesting that are labelled anti-Semitic. Because apparently they're only motivated by racism. Not that this person is insanely incendiary. So it's just like, it breaks my brain. And it's like, in my mind, there's such a clear distinction between Israeli and Jewish person and Israeli government, and even Israeli government and like a communist Israeli. Because I know there are like left-wing Israelis who oppose the government as well. But it's just so frustrating. Like, people are so scared. The thing is, what was so nice about quitting my job is that I actually got harassed by Zionists at work for writing an article about how Israel was making the pandemic worse in Palestine by not giving them enough aid. And people messaged my boss saying I'm a racist and stuff. And then they went through my social media and found me supporting Corbyn and were like, yeah, he supports Corbyn, he's a massive racist. What was so nice about leaving that job is I can just say whatever the fuck I want now without being scared that this like Zionist lobby is going to find me and message my work again. It's actually fucking insane. And also, like, as an Irish person, like, obviously I can just draw the obvious parallels about British and Scottish, or just British generally, settler colonialism in Ireland and Israeli settler colonialism. Anyway, I get very mad about this stuff because I feel like I'm being made. Okay, gaslit is the right word, but also maybe not the right word, because I know I'm not insane for feeling this way, but it feels like collectively as a society we're going insane, and that's why I hate Americans. I hate the American left even more because they both sides this shit as well. And the American left, online left, is so dominated by white people. I just hate the conversation, like, on colonialism. I think being in literally the biggest settler, I think America must be the biggest settler colonial nation that's ever existed. Like, it must be. The landmass is just absolutely huge. From where it started, and obviously that's a settler colony anyway, the original states, but from that to like how big it is today, even like Puerto Rico and Hawaii, it must be the biggest settler colonial state, as like one country for sure. Like, and it's like, there must be something about growing up in that country which like implicitly affects your brain so much, and also it ties in with the ignorance. Like, you guys are telling me, and you guys are leftists as well, you guys are telling me you don't know anything about Ireland, despite the fact millions and millions of Americans are from Ireland, and literally Bill Clinton, Joe Biden, who's your current president, was so instrumental in the peace process in Northern Ireland, which was like a massive global event, and it's like was very influenced by the South African peace process and stuff. So is there something about being an American where, because you have no ties to a white American, I should say, like a white traditional American, whatever, like Anglo-Saxon, whatever, is there something about being an American where you just cannot sympathize with anti-colonialism? To, like there's a limit to how much you will sympathize with anti-colonialism because you have no links to anti-colonialism. So the American anti-colonialism is like George Washington and like his family, who were like insanely wealthy, overthrowing the British so they could create an economic system for their own like wealth and stuff. Is that the only links to colonialism most white Americans have? And that's what frustrates me with like the Palestinian stuff. In America as well, why is it only the non-white people who have to stand up for the Palestinians? Where are the white Americans, even the politicians? Why is it only AOC, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar? Why is it only non-white people doing this? Non-white people who, of course, have experienced settler colonialism or have family who have, like AOC is from Puerto Rico or her background's Puerto Rican, Ilhan Omar's Somalian, and Rashida Tlaib is obviously Palestinian. Why is it left to those people? And why do so many white Americans? Obviously, like I'm not broadly talking about. People might think I'm talking about like Vosh or something. I'm not talking about Vosh in this instance because he actually did something good for the Palestinian stuff. I'm just talking about like the broader online left that just don't say like fucking anything about these things, and that's what I mean. It's like, why does it have to be people who have family who are victims of settler colonialism to be the ones to stand up for this stuff? And it gets to my point is the reason settler colonial nations like Israel so much is because they literally were founded in the same way. Like, why is there a fucking country in the Pacific why are there two countries in the Pacific which are mostly white? Why is there New Zealand and Australia? Why are these countries like in America, which is so far away from Europe, which are mostly white? Like Canada, maybe I could make an exception for if it was like mostly Russian or something, because it's close to Russia. It's not fucking close to England and France. And it's like, is it growing up in this mindset where this is the only thing you know and you think it's like a good thing and you don't think about indigenous people that much, where you're just like, oh, I cannot, there's like a wall which I can't get past, where I cannot sympathize enough with the Palestinians. Like, if I talk about Palestine and Israel, I've got to like both sides it and talk about IDF and Hamas, literally like they're the equals and they're the equal I guess aggressors in the situation. When it's clear to anyone, just like the IRA didn't just exist because there was a bunch of fanatical Catholics or something. They're a response to oppression. Like Hamas are a militaristic response to oppression. People voted for them because they were sick of the secular Palestinians who they thought sold them out. Because the secular Palestinians who run the West Bank, is it West Bank or East Jerusalem? I forget which territory it is. Anyway, but a lot of the police obviously are like working with the Israelis. And that's why people don't understand. Hamas was, of course, like Muslim Brotherhood, but then the Israelis helped them to split the Palestinians between themselves. But the reasons Hamas run Gaza is because people were fucking sick of the PLO and the secular Palestinians not standing up for them enough. So it's like, when you create desperate conditions, like Palestinian Christians who lived in Gaza voted for Hamas. Like Islamic fundamentalists who literally would happily get rid of all Christians on the earth. That's how desperate you have to be to vote for people like that. And Gaza is actually one of the worst places to live in the entire world. And you think that them endorsing these guys is because they're evil or some shit like that. Like, your brain has been poisoned by the war on terror. But anyway, like it just frustrates me. Like, I feel like there is something about being American where you're both insanely ignorant. Like, this is a really broad, but like you guys know it's true. Like, I'm not talking about everyone in the chat who has like left-wing beliefs and like can sympathize with colonization. But I think there's something about America specifically where you're so closed off from the rest of the world in a nation which is told it's the greatest thing that's ever happened to the world. It's actually basically like the new Roman Empire or something. And then a lot of these people being settler colonialist backgrounds, like, English or Scottish or, whatever, or German. And then there's just something you cannot understand. And the thing is, like, you guys might think I'm a bit hypocrite. I was raised in the UK, I'm a white guy and stuff. And, all my life, I haven't had it hard at all. Like, I've never been treated badly because of my because of my religion or because of my I'm not religious anymore, but like or because of my background, but like when you get older and you like kind of think about your family a bit more, like my grandparents are all still alive. One's 89, one's 83, one's 91. They all immigrated from Ireland and stuff. So it's just like it's just very frustrating. Like the discourse on the Israel stuff was a big like waking up point for me, realizing how limited or how like do you know what it made me realize actually? It made me realize and my problem specifically goes to Twitch a lot more is like most leftist Twitch streamers don't actually give a shit about left-wing politics and they don't give a shit about anti-colonialism. Like they literally don't give a shit. They won't say anything about, like a big one for me, I think it was like not that easy in the left wing, but like Xander Hall, I think didn't make one video about Israel, despite covering like the most like he covered fucking Mel. You know that person Volsh had a big fight with. He covered Mel going off Twitter and coming back, but he didn't have anything to say about Israel and Gaza when it was actually the biggest news story in the world. This guy is meant to be like in the left wing circles or something. Like I said, like credit to Vosh and stuff who like did that massive fundraiser and everything, and then Destiny was saying like he's raising money for Hamas. Like there are some good ones like the serfs, but I know Lance does have like indigenous heritage as well. Is Vosh like Irish or some shit, like maybe Irish background? But most people were just like so wishy-washy, wouldn't say anything, say, oh, it's too complicated for me. It's not too complicated. It's complicated if you're brainwashed by the set of colonial nation you grew up in. And you don't have to, like, people are just ridiculous. It's like, you see what is going on there, and it's just so brutal. If that was, can you even imagine, like, I said it when it's happening, it's like, could you fucking imagine if that was happening in Northern Ireland to white Catholic people? Imagine if white Catholics were like trapped in a part of Gaza and then the British just came in jets and bombed the shit out of it. Can you imagine people being like, too complicated for me, like let's think about the Protestant British people in Northern Ireland, like don't talk about what they're doing. Like you can't even imagine it. He's Polish, okay. I mean, Red Leader, I'm talking about specifically the Israel-Palestine stuff. He's been really shitty on the black stuff, like black nationalism and everything. Jackie, Carl Rittenhouse is going to be like a fucking congressman or something one day. Sorry, I'm just reading your comments now. Sorry, I went a bit of a rant. So I'm just... do you believe in a free Northern Ireland? Do you mean I believe Northern Ireland should not be controlled by the British government anymore? Then yes, I do. Exactly, yeah. Andrew, you're saying why people support the Taliban. And that's the thing, like... people cannot get their heads around why people support the Taliban or Hamas. And it's not because everyone who supports them is fucking evil. Like, people need to get their heads around when you're put in a desperate situation, you'll often just side with the person who has more ties to you and is standing up for you, or like perceived to be standing up for you. Like, it's not really hard to understand. Like, how people often frame it is Hamas are holding Gaza hostage. It's like, no, Israel are holding Gaza hostage. If you like, even if you made their situation like better without even like making a two-state solution, I guarantee support for Hamas would decrease, right? When you're making it so desperate, like when children are growing up with PTSD, like most children in that area, and they're seeing their families being killed, what do you think's going to happen? Like that's a ridiculous thing. Do you think Hamas are making these people join them, or do you think most people just join them because they want to? The same with most like insurgent groups in territories like this. People join them because they want to, not because they're all insane Islamists. They probably do get brainwashed to be more Islamist when they join and stuff, but it's like they don't join them. They join them because they're militaristic and they're standing up to people. Like, do you think most people, if you grow up in like a normal, nice environment, if you grow up in like a privileged environment, you don't want to join these organizations for the most part. Sometimes you will, like Che Guevara grew up privileged and he went and joined the revolution and stuff. A couple of revolutionary figures do, but your rank and file, they don't join up because they're motivated by idealism and they come from a privileged background. They join up because their circumstances make them like, or give them this ideology because they see it firsthand, they experience it. Oh yeah, Redley. I'm not saying no white Americans have links to like decolonization. I'm just talking about like being like this white Anglo American basically. Oh, sorry, I've got some super chats I didn't read. Sorry, Smith Black. Smith Black, hope you're still here. Americans stopped developing after 1822, or 18 to 22 ages, sorry. Most Americans are unwilling to learn and associate learning with elitism. Also, we believe in, we also believe they deserve it. Yeah, anti-intellectualism, I think, is bigger in America because of, obviously, like, evangelical religion, but also America's, like, unlike Britain, where people in Britain, don't get me wrong, the British elite are fucking stupid, but like being educated at the best schools is like part of being the elite. Like you have to do it to be in their club, so you have to go to Oxbridge or some shit. Sorry, I'm reading some more comments. Cuts your CIA, cuts your feed again. Oh yeah, no, Julian, it was someone, not even a customer, it was just someone who read my article and messaged my boss. Yeah, let's take some more modern comments. Yeah, the Terry Crews thing was fucking wild. Is there anything politically you like about the USA? I mean, I would like the USA if it was actually one person, one vote for the president. That would be cool. But it's not because of the Electoral College. I like the open primaries in certain stuff for presidential candidates. That's good because we don't have that here. You can't vote in Tory or Labour leadership contests. Was Shea a war criminal? No. I mean, if you believe like fascist Cuban narratives about the war, then maybe. Have I watched True Detective? Yeah, I love True Detective. I love season 3 a lot, actually. Yeah, Melanie, Che Guevara is more based than lefties make him out to be. Why the hate on Veterans Day? Yeah, but you don't understand the context. If you're calling it Veterans Day, that means you're American. It's not Veterans Day in the UK, it's Remembrance Day. It's a completely different context. Finkelstein. Who's Finkelstein? I'm ignorant. Yeah, the judge in the Rittenhouse thing is like it reminds me of the OJ Simpson thing so much. Like it feels like the judge is just trying to become a celebrity or something. Like why like he's just looking to get like some sort of conservative show after he's done. It's actually insane. British nationalists, what is there to be proud of? Well, same reason there's fucking Greek nationalists who talk about the Byzantine Empire and the ancient Greek Empire, which is like you know, the Greek Empire essentially ended in 1453. So yeah, I banned that guy. Katie, thanks so much for the super chat. Yeah, Katie, Taylor already asked me that. Taylor, I called Kennedy. I called you Taylor. Are you happy? Taylor. No, I'm not excited for it. I don't even fucking understand it. Is it like some music video or something? All right, so I'm gonna just talk about Carl Rittenhouse for a bit now, since I'm getting trolls. Don't worry, I've deleted it. So basically, here's my take on Carl Rittenhouse. Unsurprising, the American justice system isn't very good. But regardless if Carl Rittenhouse can be found not guilty in a court of law, why so many lefties trying to declare him innocent? He went to a protest with a gun with obvious intent to hurt people, shot people, cops thanked him, he said he did it to protect private property, he may be found innocent of the crime he's being charged with, which I think is first-degree murder. He's far from innocent. Yeah, like, the thing is, I get maybe saying, like, I don't know what self-defense like is classified as, but going illegally, having a gun and going to another state and then shooting people at an anti-cop rally after the cops have just shot someone in the back. You're a police cadet who's expressed fascist sympathies online and simp for the cops. You're obviously going there with intent to hurt someone, right? And you're going there to protect private property. I don't know why people are defending him. Like, even if like that's technically self-defense in the eyes of the law, if you're left wing, why do you give a shit about like the laws for, you know, certain things that are obviously wrong, right? Like in Florida with George Zimmerman, he got off because of the stand your ground law. Does anyone think that that law is right? Like, you can kill someone who's unarmed if you feel threatened by them. And in this white supremacist country and court system, if you are I think a Latino man who does it to a black man, there's more likely you're going to get off. A black child as well. So people saying, like, you know, oh, like he's innocent. He's not innocent. This guy is not fucking innocent. He might be found not guilty of this specific crime by a jury, which is probably sharing a lot of his sympathies. We know how polarized America is. We know the judge basically probably thinks what he did was good. Do you think that judge thinks the protest against the police for shooting a black man in the back? Do you think the judge thinks that's bad, that those protests are good or right, or does he think they're bad? And this is the frustrating thing. Like, and also people, I don't know who this fucking guy is. I think he's a YouTuber called Lonerbox, and he made like one video about Lauren Southern. He was getting mad at people for saying that for saying Carl Rittenhouse was fucking fake crying, and I said yeah. So he basically said, seriously, when you try to say Rittenhouse faked crying in that clip, you all look deranged. He was a dumbass LARPer and he shouldn't have been there, but that has nothing to do with whether or not he was defending himself. He almost 100% going to walk fuck off. Not every tragic event needs to be shoehorned in some hyper-convenient narrative, white supremacy versus social justice. If you want to, I mean, he literally shot Black Lives Matter supporters to protect private property. So, and then Know Nothing as well, Destiny's lawyer, is saying some shit about this as well. But is this the thing you're fucking trying to, like, who are we trying to dance? I just say, like, don't make fun of the fascist guys, you all look deranged. And he has fucking anti-fascist in his bio as well. And I said, if Rittenhouse wasn't crying for sympathy, he was crying because he's thinking about potentially going to jail. Either way, fuck him and make fun of how stupid he sounded. Also, totally fine to believe he's faking it, but also what a weird hill to die on. And this loner box replied to me, when did I say you can't make fun of him? I've done that plenty of times. Glad you agree fake crying is a weird hill to die on, which he's doing. I've always said that people encouraging and simping for him, the child of the problem, nothing I said is incompatible with anti-fascism. I disagree. I don't know why he's calling people deranged for saying he's fake crying. To be honest, it looked like he's fake crying, and if he wasn't, he just knows he might be fucked, and that's it. Alright. Gonna get the chat up again. Yeah, and it was proof she did shoot a flare. The judges, yeah, you shoot supremacists. Are these bots or just fucking idiots, man? Well, most people in the US think if you're anti-private property, it means you're like, if someone has like a possession, like a necklace, you just nick it and that's okay. So glad we have strict gun here. I mean, the only thing with gunners in the UK, if the cops got guns, I'd be more concerned. But since the cops don't have guns generally, it's better. But the thing is, this is what's insane about American politics, right? All right, so let's say like I'm some sort of legal scholar, and technically in the weird backwards laws of the US, technically what Kyle Rittenhouse did was 100% self-defense, and it's like really clear cut in court. I can argue that and win all day. The thing is, people seem to associate not guilty with innocent person who did nothing wrong, and that's what the whole. I saw a tweet. There should be more Kyle Rittenhouse houses and less George Floyd's, and I'm like, what a fucking evil thing to say. But American conservatism is not only fascism, it's just totally fucking deranged as well. Like, do you want to set the precedent? Okay, let's say we live in an equal system. What if I illegally get a rifle, I go to a Trump rally and basically antagonize them, they come at me and I kill two people, or did he kill, I don't know, shot a couple people, and then I run away, the cops thank me, and then go to court, gets argued as self. The thing is, I don't understand how going somewhere with a gun specifically to like attack people with intent, essentially you're looking for a fight. I don't understand how there's no law against it. How is there no, like, what is there not something they could argue that make him go to prison? I don't understand how that's okay. Like, I'm trying to think if that happened in the UK, and it says like the UK is completely fucked for politics. I'm not defending the UK at all, but there's something to be said about how deranged American politics is as a society. I cannot even imagine if someone went to a protest in the UK and shot a couple people, and the whole Tory party getting on board and dying on the hill that this was the right thing to do. Or better yet, let's say we don't have guns in the UK. Let's say someone went to a Black Lives Matter protest with a knife and started stabbing a couple people, like a British right winger. I cannot imagine, like, and I think it speaks to a problem, not that the Tory parties are necessarily more moral and conservative in the UK more moral. It's a problem with acceptable violence in the US, right? Like, when something violence happens in the UK, it's often like really shocking. Like, even just like an attack where like two people get stabbed to death or something like that. That's pretty shocking, mainstream news. But in America, it's like that Texas shooting, like the Las Vegas shooting, was insane. Like the amount of bullets that guy shot and the amount of people he shot, and it's like that's not even like really talked about anymore. In the UK, that would be like, if that happened, it'd be remembered forever. Like, we have stuff not like didn't kill as many people like that, like Dublin in Scotland, and some other shootings, and they're remembered like forever, basically, like changed the whole UK's gun culture, and here you have something like this, and it's just like people celebrating this guy as a hero is just the most bizarre shit to me, and there's like no consequences for it. Like Donald Trump and like the president, the whole political party can just back this really gross thing, which is so clearly like immoral. Like, even if it is within the confines of like a white supremacist legal system where fascists can go to kill anti-fascist protesters with disproportionate force, like, it's just really bizarre to me. And like, Americans are just like, I'm not obviously, like, I'm very general, but like American society is so polarized. You get like half the country defending this thing is like moral, and it should be celebrated and good. And can you imagine the precedent this will set? And also the precedent it will set but it will only be applied to right wingers because, like I was looking at today, who remembers this? Who remembers this guy, who did something very similar to Carl Rittenhouse, and then he was fucking killed, basically on the president's orders by U.S. Marshals. Who remembers this? The Antifa guy who shot a Trump supporter, and that's what we're looking at here as well. Like if Carl Rittenhouse goes free, there'll be more Carl Rittenhouses, and obviously you have those laws in Florida where you can run people over now and pretty much get no punishment for it, like protesters. If this happens, there'll be more precedent where more people will show up. And the whole part of the Boogaloo Boys is they're trying to incite stuff like this. So to them, that's wonderful. Boogaloo Boys go to these protests, incite violence and kill people in self-defense, and you'll probably get off. Like, you're not going to go to jail for this because there's a precedent now established that Carl Rittenhouse did nothing wrong, apparently. And it's just, fucking insane. Anyway, I'm going to take a couple more comments. Yeah, got hit by a hit squad by Trump. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but Red Leader, the difference with Northern Irish stuff is I think people just accept that as a war zone. I'm not discounting your point, but like, do you know about Dublin in Scotland? And that was what, like 1998 or 1994? 1996. So yeah, Red Leader, the UK gun laws used to be way more relaxed, basically. And then the Dublin school shooting happened, and it basically changed them. And the Dublin school shooting took place only 1 year before the Troubles ended. So I'm saying the cultural shift since I've been alive in the UK is very different from what I'm talking about now. Sorry, I'm looking at the chat now. Wait, who are these people saying pro Carl Rittenhouse things? Where's the clown face emoji gone? Oh, it's the same guy. Oh yeah, I'm not saying the British legal system isn't the same towards leftists as the US. It totally is. I'm just talking about the violence, really. My point is about the violence. Katie, thanks so much for the super chat. I really appreciate that. So many of us are exhausted and desensitized that we just don't know what to do because it gets worse and nothing changes. It's heartbreaking to be here, to be honest. Yeah, I do sympathize for sure. It's just like the thing is, like, America is obviously like the world leader of like the civilized world, but just this country is just so fucking violent, and it's obviously fueled by like, I think people were telling me last time that like London is more violent than New York for knife crime, and it was actually like I think it was like for 1 week or 1 month in like July 2017, and then it just went back to normal. But that's the thing. Like the thing is, I always say about the UK. The UK is like a microcosm of the US. Like, we have very, very similar problems with loads of things. Like, it's very, very comparable. Like, think all the problems you have in the US we have here. Apart from it has a different flavour. So if we talk about corruption, I always say corruption in the UK is way more hidden in that it's everyone goes to the same school together and know each other. So all the elite are corrupt together. So the business leaders and the politicians in the Tory party all go to the same school, even a lot of people in the Labour Party as well. So so I'm just reading some more stuff. Yeah, I'm getting brigaded a bit. One sec. Yeah, sorry, but then like UK is like is a violent country, like, generally, right? Glasgow, like, Scotland's been pretty bad for things like knife crime. London's bad for knife crime as well. But I'm just saying the scale of the violence is just way bigger in the US. Is my main point as well. Just like the Carl Rittenhouse stuff is just so crazy. Like, and even like the Vegas. The thing is, like, the Vegas stuff as well. Like, and all these shootings I've been alive to witness and stuff. It's just so crazy But like, and I'm someone, if I was in America, I would support the Second Amendment, but just owning these guns, which like can kill people so rapidly, is just insane to me. Like really, like the lack of, and also it's not even about owning them. It's about anyone in some places can own them. Like mentally ill people, people on no fly list in some places, people with criminal records can own them in some places, and it's like this complete unregulation of weapons. And also America also has way worse drug problems as well, and like the fentanyl and opioid epidemics aren't in the UK. Like we have some opioid problems, but the epidemics that loads of people are hooked on hardcore drugs, especially homeless people as well. You see it a lot, and it's like no wonder the violence just gets so out of control. Like this toxic mixture. And like I said, most countries have violent problems. You know, the UK has one as well, but just like and it also goes to the police as well, isn't it? It's like the police are violent in the UK, the police are racist in the UK, but the police don't have these access to these weapons, so they don't kill people like on purpose or by accident as regularly. Whereas the police in the US are worse trained, less accountable, and are more likely to fire first, especially upon non-white people. Meow Nyan, thanks so much for the 13 Canadian bucks. Yeah, do you find North Americans are too obsessed with vigilantism and have a hard time distinguishing fantasy and reality? It seems like Alan Moore warned us about this thing. Yeah, for sure. Like, the glorification of the Punisher by law enforcement and the armed forces is like, I know British people do this as well, but it's like, the Punisher is like not someone to look up to. If you're a law enforcement, you should be like against the Punisher. You shouldn't be for him. But it's like the vigilante. I guess superheroes are all from there, like taking the law into your own hands. Even like old West style, like bounty hunters. Like I don't know if we have bounty hunters in the UK, but it's like obviously you not like the old West where you can go around and shoot people. Not sure if we ever had it like that. I'd be interested to read it if we did. Pretty close to the UK in what regard? I sort of outlined why I think it's good. The UK, it's close to the UK. See you later, Kennedy. Go play Normie Night. I'll watch the TIT video, Sam. Yeah, Red Leader. I'm sure there was something for Highwayman in like the 16. Would that be the 1600s or the 1700s? I'm sure there would be something like that. Police unions are the only bad unions. Yeah, Britain's a fucked up country. I'm just talking about the internal violence. Like the UK was more like civilized while it's doing like genocide and like or like using mustard gas in like the Middle East and shit like that. I'm not saying British people in general or the British government aren't as violent as the US government. I think they're very comparable. I'm more talking about just internal violence, but it's probably like the nature of America and the like survivalism, the isolation, like the frontier mentality. It's just not comparable to the UK at all in terms of like the UK has been populated by many people for like 2,000 years basically. And obviously a very violent history, but like the concept of England was established like 1,000 years ago. Where America is, only stopped growing in like, when did Hawaii become a state? In like the 40s or something? See you, Hikmet. Thanks for joining. Even later. Because I thought Pearl Harbor, it must have been a state by then. 1958 or 1959. Crazy. Yeah, Nico. Nearly all of my audience really are from the US. The second so I think it's like 50% US, 10% UK, then like 5% like German. But to be honest, a lot of people I talk to are from Australia, so I'm guessing maybe like obviously British speaking countries. I do get some Scandinavians, like Norwegians, a fair bit too. Some Middle Eastern people too. Russia sold Alaska to the US. Was it like the 1700s or early 1800s? But I don't know when it became a state. When Pearl Harbor happened, most Americans didn't know Hawaii was part of the US. Well, it wasn't according to these people. What was it called? Like just a colony or territory? Okay, saying the Las Vegas shooting fucked up my head. It was monstrous to watch. I remember when my job at the mall was under lockdown for potential shoot. It was like, oh, okay, of course. Yeah, that fucking sucks. That's crazy to me as well. Like even being trained to have like school lockdowns or anything like that in case a shooter tries to kill me. It's also funny that one of the people playing that concert, he tried to take down the shooter, but he only like a handgun. I think he said it changed his perspective on gun regulation because he couldn't do anything or something. Hey Ken, YouTuber Solari posted a video about how America fetishizes violence. It's pretty relevant to what you're talking about now. Awesome. I might check that out. I've never heard of that person though. Who is Poppy? Yeah, everyone keeps saying it. Poppy is a flower that grows in like certain places, but it's a symbol in the Commonwealth nations to remember World War One and World War Two, and the armed forces. Yeah, Nico. I used to cover U.S. politics really like closely, like newsy style things, but then in 2020, like mid 2020, I made some videos that are like more political, cultural topics. So I just shifted a bit away from like really like close politics, I guess. Where are all these fucking weirdos coming from? Oh, okay. About depressing capitalism. Okay, after the American-Spanish War. He also has a video on the Sigma male. We are alike. Hawaii was the place people actually knew was in the US. Americans did think of it as civilized, and a lot of white Americans lived there. I guess it was like a big settler colony. It does look really nice though. Like, yeah, Puerto Rico and the Philippines is taken after the Spanish War. Okay, Alaska only became a state in 1959. Crazy. Just like an oil colony to start with. Yeah, Red Leader. I'd love some more like films or games where the Philippines, the American War in the Philippines, is discussed. Because I watched a really good documentary. Actually, no, it was So remember there was World War Two in color in 2007. There was one in 2018, which was a lot better, and it had interviews with this girl who grew up in American Philippines, but also during the Japanese occupation, and she was there for the whole time. It's really fucking interesting. But crazy, just like the Americans obviously lost in the Philippines and stuff, and it's just like a brutal conflict to get it back. And the Japanese basically said they're leaving. It's like, if any of you leave the camp, we'll kill you all. The Japanese said that as well to the POWs in Japan when the bombs were being dropped. They're like, if you try and escape, we will kill you all. And then eventually they just left, and then just left the Americans there on their own. That's interesting, Scallopwag. But also the Philippines is named after Philip II, isn't it? Or I believe. Or Philip, or whatever Philip it was. Philip III, maybe. That's the 1600s. Or Philip IV. who was a shit king anyway. So, but yeah, it's Catholic, and anyway, because of the Spanish colonization. Apparently, Puerto Rican independence isn't very popular in Puerto Rico, though, is one thing I've read. But statehood is popular. Yeah, Philippines is fucked up. At least there's some, like, pretty strong Maoist groups there, but, like, obviously being persecuted by the government. Yeah, I'm not sure which Philip was. I'd probably say if it was when the Philips weren't ruling, it's probably named after Philip II, who's their best king in memory. Like, Franco wanted to be like Philip II. First I had sex box, and then, what did you say for the second bit? I've lost your comment. The long arm of Catholicism for sure. Yeah, McKinley said that, American Catholicism. Yeah, but like American imperialism is pretty wild. Like how it's just like that's what I mean about like settler colonialism is just so normalized. It's like how Northern Ireland is very normalized to people in the UK. It's like Hawaii, Puerto Rico, in the past, places like the Philippines, just very normalized. Like Americans, like FDR, we are against colonialism, but let's go fight the Japanese over the Philippines. It's like, okay, like, so you're not the imperialists as well. Yeah, Little Fox, I'm not explaining the Travels again. Hopefully I'll archive this video on my second channel and you can watch it then. That took me like 20 minutes. Yeah, I guess Inside House, but also like who's gonna really back them apart from China? I guess like Vietnam, but they're not as much like that as China are. Yeah, send them to me, Red Leader, if you got them. That sounds cool. Shrexy, do the Maoist rebels actually fight the government in the Philippines, or are they just hiding in the jungle? Yeah, it doesn't feel like what's Puerto Rico's main export? Is it like sugar or something, or tobacco? I don't even know. All right, I might go off in a sec. I want to play some Call of Duty before I go to bed. So tomorrow's video, I've got two in my head. So the anti-Verbu politics of Call of Duty Vanguard, I might do, but I wanted to keep my streak going of like good videos and sub growth. So I might do that video on Joe Rogan and Dave Rubin, like simping for George Carlin, who would probably fucking hate them if he was alive. So maybe that one. Cuba and Puerto Rico were used for sugar. Yeah, I thought so. Oh, that's cool. Shrexy rocks. I mean, it's crazy. There's like a communist faction fighting like their own guerrilla war, and we just never hear about it. Composers, yeah, the composer video. I mean, I just get copyrighted to hell. I can't even think of a good. The only one would be good is that the guy who did Halo, who is a great composer, he's just a fucking really right wing Republican. Marty O'Donnell. To be honest, Julian, on the multiplayer, you're just playing as like the operators against each other. Like you don't even get to play as the baddies. Apart from, this is the really bizarre thing in COD. You're playing as like these allies, and then you're playing as these like Axis defectors, and then there's one character who's in the Indian National Army. Now, okay, the Indian National Army is complicated. Like I've talked to some people who are Indian and say like the legacy is complicated in India. Like generally they're not hated. Like they're seen as like pretty good. So the Indian National Army was basically Indians who didn't want to fight for the British Empire in World War Two. So they created their own army. But basically, their leader, what's his name, Chandrandi Bose or something. I don't know, say Boss or Bosse. He met with Hitler and he was like, you know, can we have some help fighting the British? And like, we'll help the Germans. But basically, obviously, the Germans weren't fighting in Asia. So the Indian National Army was put under the command of the Japanese, but because of that, it was really, really badly funded, and most of them like they didn't fight very well in battles and like got ravaged by disease. But yeah, they're part. You know, the legacy in India isn't like a bad one. Like Indians don't hate them for doing that. And their leader tried to flee the Allies, but he died in a plane crash, I think. And the Japanese doctor confirmed it was him. But basically, yeah, it's weird. So you're playing as like Axis defectors in the multiplayer and Allied members, and then you have this one character who's in the Indian National Army, meaning technically they're actually on the fascist side, but you're playing on the same team as them. So you have an American soldier who fought the Japanese, called Wade from the campaign, and you can be fighting alongside the Indian National Army who is fighting for the Japanese. It's really weird, but the politics in the actual game are pretty cool. I was going to talk about it in my last stream before it got cut out. Yeah, so really, I think I've read that before, but yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like it's a complicated legacy, but like I think like maybe a bit more. They got off a bit more just because of the end of the war, and then quickly independence came basically. Close to 50k. I'm only eating the chocolate orange for 100k. I never said 50. How many more videos in your street before you get the drone strike? I mean, I don't have the drone strike. I have the UAV drone. But Red Leader, does being a Maoist in the US make any sense, though? Like, isn't Maoism more applicable to, like, rural societies and less urban ones? Wait, Little Fox, what are you doing the crying emoji for? Coming from a man who doesn't like comedy. I mean, I don't like stand-up comedy for sure. Oh, the bot is back. The bot is back. Oh, fuck. I don't think that really... Okay, fair. I wait, the victory in India. I mean, India would be a hard one for Maoism anyway, because it's like the population density in those cities is crazy. Wouldn't it more be like Marxist-Leninism? Although, you know... See you later, Victor. Yeah, I guess they said, you know, the Grand Mufti of Palestine was sided with the Nazis, didn't he? Because, and the Iranians and stuff. Yeah, FDR was better than Truman for sure. I wonder what would have happened to Asia if FDR was still the president. Like, would have Vietnam got independence since they did promise them that? Like the OSS and stuff. What's your views on monarchies? Yeah, fuck them. Think you're being chosen by a made-up god, but your bloodline has been to rule over me. The landlord thing, yeah. But Maoism mainly applies to agricultural societies mainly, I feel. Jay, it's too late in the stream to answer that question. Oh, that's cool. They shout at the Bhutan Maoists. Maoists seem to be the most aggressive communist left, though. Obviously, Mao did advocate for worldwide revolution. Weren't FARC Maoists as well in Colombia? Oh, Pablo, I'm really happy to hear that. Make sure you play Peace Walker before Ground Zeroes and 5. Yeah, Kin, I don't think I'm ever going to play a Shin Megami Tensei game. It's not my thing. We don't think we would nuke Japan with FDR. Yeah, you wonder that. I don't know. I mean, the program did start under his administration, didn't it? So part of FARC was loads of yeah. I don't like anime games or anime, yeah, for sure. Loads of those South American communist groups are Maoist. I'm about to play Battlefield. The new one. Are you gonna play? I'm waiting for the reviews of the new one. Yeah, inside your house, weren't the didn't the Black Panthers have a lot of Maoists though? I think. Yeah, someone's saying that actually. I think they were. This is an anti-weeb chat. No, I just don't like anime. It's just too long. Yeah, Shining Path is fucking weird. Yeah, actual photons. Poppy Day is basically a British Empire thing. It's like the Commonwealth countries. It's remembering World War One and to a lesser extent World War Two. Inside House. If you want something for an industrial country, then Karl Marx is your main man for that. I mean, if you're talking about like we need a new brand of Marxism for the 21st century in like Western countries, I mean, yeah, I'd agree. Maybe like the proletariat of like industrial workers is made, but I'm sure there's people who've adapted Marxism for like the 21st Western societies and stuff. Julian, I'm gonna piss you off, and I'm gonna watch Cowboy Bebop first on Netflix with the live action one. See you later, Ken. Thanks for joining. An OG subscriber for sure. Oh, that's cool. One of my professors is a former Black Panther. Oh, that's it. I didn't know they loved Kim Il Sung. That's pretty interesting. See you later, Ken. Yeah, so like Marxism's for like industrial. The thing is, Marxism could work in industrializing nations probably a bit more, like some rich African countries or Asian countries, but like Maoism is obviously way more applicable to lower developed countries, and then Marxism is like for maybe like the brick economies, but you never really know because there's like Maoists in Brazil and stuff because they're very agricultural. Slim Privilege, thanks so much. Some Choco Orange money. Now I really appreciate the $5. Very, very nice of you. Chocolate Orange. Yeah, I need. Wait, what can people see? I'm so close. Basically, I've got it. It's gonna be a year. On the 27th of November, it's gonna be a year since I quit my full-time job. Or I finished my my 3 weeks, whatever. And then next Friday is my birthday. So I'm hoping I hit 50k on either by next Friday, my 26th birthday, or by the Friday afterwards, which would be a year anniversary since I've stopped. Technically, I got 600 and something subs to go. So I'm hoping I can hit that. I actually was scared I wasn't going to hit it by Christmas, but now pretty much it's basically a done deal, which is nice. Maybe make a nice bit of a dent in the 50k before next year. Do chocolate oranges expire? Yep, they do. I actually had one on the weekend. Very nice. Not one of these ones. I bought another one for myself. Do they spoil? I mean, some of them have been here for like a year, so this room gets very hot in the summer, so I guess they probably taste disgusting, but they are wrapped in a box and then a bit of plastic and then like foil, so maybe they're okay. Julian, I never really know, to be honest. It's just like Maoism mainly. It feels like it mainly works now with oppression. Like in Brazil, it's because the government are fucking over the natives and the farmers so much. In the Philippines, obviously, like very authoritarian gov. If things are like giving you good jobs and it's pretty stable, I don't think it works as well. or if there's like societal reasons, like you probably couldn't get many Maoists in Afghanistan today, like in the context of what's happened there and like with the Taliban's dominance and just the ISIS and stuff. Kinder Surprises are nice. Why do conservatives hate Battlefield 5? Well, they shouldn't. It's a nice Veraboo campaign. It basically whitewashes the Nazis, so... Oh, actual photons, that's nice to you. So it's weird now. That video was like a year and a half ago. It's crazy how time goes fast. But yeah, you're one of the older subscribers. Not the oldest. I got plenty of people who've been here for like nearly 3 years now. They are really nice, so chocolate oranges. Basically, I have... These are dark chocolate. They're not as nice. They're okay. But then the blue ones are milk chocolate and the white ones are white chocolate. The white ones only come out like once a year, though, like Christmas. Oh yeah, Marxism would be better for like developing industrial countries. Mainly like focused around like urbanization. So maybe like India, for example. But India's a weird one because it's very rural and very urban because it's so fucking massive. Same with the US. Women, oh yeah, they did hate the women in World War II. Anyway, we've been going for like 2 hours and a bit, so a nice long stream today. Thanks everyone for joining. I really appreciated it. Thanks for the support recently on the channel, like, especially if you're new. Like, I can't believe how good this month's been. And the good thing is, the good month is actually next month because Christmas is where everyone on YouTube makes a lot of money. Because the Christmas ads means they pay a lot more for the ads. So basically how it's going to look, I was thinking like I could go sicko mode and put out 5 videos a week, but mainly they'd be like clips of my stream. But then there's a whole thing you got to take into account is like, will the watch time be worse in those videos because they're less high quality? So I'm still working out whether I'm just going to try and do some better quality videos. Like I got my Last of Us Israel-Palestine video I want to make, but that takes a lot more time. There's some other stuff as well. So we'll see about all that stuff. So I might go second mode. I'm going to start streaming on Saturdays, some games maybe, over the Christmas period at least. And then... yeah, but generally, like the support's been really great. Like the growth has been insane the last month. Like I said, my best month ever, I believe. And 50k is close. And how nice would it be if I hit that on even my birthday or the 1 year anniversary of quitting my shitty job? So we'll see. Don't say sicko mode. Okay, I didn't even know that's from that guy. So thanks, Julian. I appreciate it. Appreciate you being new as well. Go play Vanguard. Yeah, I will. Thank you so much, Pablo. Yeah, see you later, Kennedy, Katie, Red Leader, Main, see you later, but Apex, I'm not really a fan. See you, oh yeah, 4 AM, yeah, I've gone a bit longer than I planned to. Anyway, look out for the video tomorrow, and yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. Had a nice, good stream. Hydrogen, I'm going to put this video on my second channel, so you're probably going to have to look out for that, because I've already given my opinion about it. But yeah, see you guys later. Thanks so much for the stream. Also,